To me, Scotland and happiness have always been closely interwoven.
The special connection the then Princess Elizabeth described to a packed Usher Hall in 1947 was forged from a very young age.
Her love of Scotland probably began with her childhood visits every year to her grandparents here, which they really loved, apparently.
The future Queen would jump the hedges in the grounds of Glamis Castle. She continued to visit her mother's ancestral home in Angus throughout her reign.
We didn't believe her because the hedges were so tall. And then she sent this photograph and said, "To prove to you and your gardener that I did jump over the hedges." She was just a delight to have. And every time she'd been here, everybody was in a glow for days, you know.
The young girl with a love of dogs and horses became Queen at the age of 25. Her coronation is remembered fondly by those who took part in the historic ceremony.
I was a paid boy at the coronation. Sir Winston Churchill was there and my father, and there were tears rolling down the cheeks of Sir Winston, saying, "Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful." She had this enormous sense of duty.
This was the welcome for the new monarch on her first trip to Scotland after her coronation.
The people of Glasgow sum up the affection all Scotland holds for its young and gracious Queen.
Over 4 decades later, crowds again turned out when Queen Elizabeth officially opened the first Scottish Parliament since 1707.
It is a moment rare in the life of any nation when we step across the threshold of a new constitutional age.
It's not easy after 300 years of not having it to go back to traditions. Probably most important of all, we had the form of language used to greet her, which is still used.
With warmth and affection, as Queen of Scots.
Ban Ki-moon got it right when she addressed the General Assembly in 2010. He said she was an anchor for our times, and she was. She was always there.
She did face moments of crisis. She was criticised at home, for instance, with the shenanigans of members of her family. That often reflected badly on her, I think unfairly, but it did.
Some of that criticism came following the death of Princess Diana, when the Queen remained at Balmoral with her grandsons William and Harry, delaying their return to London.
She was there for them, and being away from all that in London, I think, was important. And I think she took the criticism, but I still think it was unfair. And I know she was in Balmoral, where the boys felt a kind of peacefulness.
The death of Princess Diana and the public's response to it shook the royal family. From this point, it was understood the monarchy had to modernise.
Do you take milk and sugar, Mum?
Could I just have a little milk?
A little milk.
In the summer of 1999, in one Glasgow household, the Queen came for tea. A radical shift from the formal royal visits of old.
But he's now moved schools, has he? Is he now?
Tea?
By 2022, it was tea with a famous bear that stole the headlines.
She understood the power of the media, the soft power that image gave her. She used the media at moments of crisis, at moments of celebration, to reflect the nation back to itself.
Good evening, Swan.
In 2014, the Commonwealth Games spotlight fell on Glasgow. There, one of the most photographed women in the world went viral when a new sport emerged at the Games, snapping selfies with the Queen.
No, I've never played hockey. Philip did.
2014 was also the year of the Scottish referendum. Ahead of the vote, the Queen had said Scots should think carefully about the future. The SNP had planned to keep the monarch, had Scotland voted to leave the United Kingdom.
No one would ever argue that Scottish politics is the business of the meek, the passive, or the faint-hearted.
On the day she became the longest reigning monarch in British history, the Queen was in Scotland, opening the new Borders Railway.
No monarch has lived longer. No monarch has had such a force of personality that is esteemed and respected across the whole world. She was a compassionate, dedicated, wonderful public servant.
The Queen shared this private photograph taken in Scotland following her husband's death. The image of the monarch then sitting alone at the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral gave the world a glimpse of the end of an era.
It just felt so sad, and it emphasised the loss. There was that emptiness for what's to come. Her commitment was total. We talk about giving 100%, but she gave so much more than 100%. And everything she did for the crown.
The world now reflects on a remarkable reign. Scotland has lost the only monarch most of us have ever known.